Suosu was originally a botanist who should have received the applause of the Blue Star public with the highest award. However, when she opened her eyes, she found herself in the interstellar era 10,000 years later, where vegetation is rare, food production is extremely low, and natural disasters are intensifying. Powerful and terrifying Warcraft, as well as destructive natural disasters such as sandstorms and tornadoes, and unappetizing nutrients, most humans live in iron houses. Looking at the deserted house and her skinny younger brother, she felt that she couldn't sit idly by and wait for death. Isn't it just a plant? She is professionally matched. Isn't it just the failure of awakening abilities? She still has a second awakening. Isn't it just that you don't have money? She sold a piece of grass grown in her yard and it was worth 10,000 gold. Fragment. Surprisingly, Peach Blossom Crispy holding hands with a blonde-haired man, proudly strolling the wedding clothes store. This rumor directly broke the hearts of many fans, swearing to uncover who that promiscuous man was. However, and what if I can't defeat my rival in love? Wait online, it's quite urgent. Who dares to challenge this golden hair electric dune? I'll give you 40,000 star coins, let's go of it. After reading the comments section, a man lay with a grin on his face in the arms of his own kissing wife, humming and groaning. There is CP, please pay attention to the blonde and beautiful man. The male and female leads are unique to each other. Keywords of the novel. Interstellar Reclamation. The First Planter without pop-ups, Interstellar Reclamation. The First Planter Complete Collection Download, Interstellar Reclamation. The First Planter Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 1. Crossing the Interstellar Era. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Crossing the Interstellar Era. In the year 243 of the first year, outside of Tangao Xingqing District, a boy is digging fine sand in the desert. His skin is cracked and his clothes are in tatters, but these are not his concerns. What he cares most about is whether plants can be dug under the fine sand. That is the key to whether he can eat enough. Only, we need to leave first. It's difficult to find today's cactus seedlings, and a sandstorm is also coming. It's better for you to go to the city as soon as possible, the adults with the boy shouted anxiously. The only one who didn't look up at them was just digging the soil seriously. Adults couldn't say much about him, so they had to shake their heads and leave. After all, there were many people like teenagers. After the adults left, they began to discuss. It's really pitiful. At the age of only 8, I lost my parents and had to live with that lazy sister. It's really pitiful to see him like this, sighed a younger uncle. Hey, don't be so empathetic, everyone is the same. It's just that he has a sister like him. If he can awaken his ability and leave here to study at Yuanqing at the age of 10, he won't have to suffer like us commoners. Impossible. Who wouldn't know that he and his sister were both exiled by the family, and if they were both exiled, it would prove that there was no hope. Isn't his sister just abandoned? One person denied. It's hard to say. After all, Suosu is almost 20 years old, 19 years old this year, and her second awakening is also coming soon. Otherwise, do you think the city lord will make her live there without paying taxes? These conversations were not heard by the boy who was called the only one. He was just burying his head in search of cactus seedlings, where people without awakening ability or technical skills could only rely on digging plant seedlings to exchange for nutrients to make a living. Inside an abandoned iron house by a river in the urban area of Haitang, cough cough, is this worn? Yusu's voice was hoarse, and she had another memory in her mind. Those fragments gradually became clear, letting her know her current situation. She was lying on a shabby bed, with the windows tightly closed and no view of the outside. The entire room was less than 20 square meters, which was her current room. She is not a person of this era now, but a Blue Star resident who has been here for thousands of years. Suosu was originally a botanist, but during another experiment, she accidentally dropped a few drops of liquid from a mutated plant, causing the experiment to fail. Later, she woke up as this 19-year-old girl with the same name and surname. When her memories merged, Suosu felt like she had returned to the pre-liberation era overnight. The girl in my memory is 7 times like her, and her current appearance is the same as when she was in the orphanage. Her beautiful figure is gone forever. In the year 243 of the first year, humans had already stepped out of the blue star for thousands of years, entered the universe, and explored hundreds of habitable planets. Technology gradually developed, and advanced technologies such as optical brain and flying machinery emerged. However, plants became the biggest obstacle. The living environment of plants has become harsh, with severe land pollution and water source pollution. The frequent occurrence of natural disasters is mostly caused by the sharp decline of plants. Powerful monsters continue to attack human urban areas, and humans can only rely on awakening to defend their homes. The protection of urban areas relies on the energy shields created by awakeners to maintain stability. Suosu stood in front of the window, looking at several flying cars in the air of the house and the desert area surrounded by sand and dust outside the energy shield. Her heart couldn't help but tighten. In her memory, there were terrifying sandstorms, tornadoes, and dangerous natural disasters everywhere, all of which reminded Suosu of what kind of world she had come into. Just as she was still lamenting the scenery outside the window, the door was gently pushed open. She followed the sound and saw a thin and weak boy standing outside the door, looking at her with a flash of surprise in his eyes. Suosu knew who he was through memory. This is the original owner, who is now Yuji's younger brother, Yuji, who is 8 years old. In her memory, she was unable to awaken successfully when she was 10 years old. At that time, Yuji was not yet born, and Yuji's parents did not abandon her because of her awakening failure. They only allowed her to continue living a prosperous life. All happiness came to an end when she was 16 years old. Her parents passed away, and she was exiled here as a waste by the uncle who inherited her parents' property. She lived alone here for 2 years, and then, as her only biological brother, she was also exiled to her because she was underage and needed to be taken care of as a direct relative. The two unfamiliar people lived under the same roof, and the original owner grew increasingly disgusted with this younger brother, who was also extremely bad to him. He always ordered him to dig up cactus seedlings for her, while she hid at home every day, hoping to leave this backward planet for the second awakening opportunity to study abilities at the Metaverse Academy. After recalling, Suosu looked at the boy across from her and couldn't help but panic. She had no family in her past life and had always been helpless in the orphanage. With her own hands, she worked hard to become a somewhat famous scientist. Now, she suddenly had a younger brother who was still related by blood to her current self, and she felt a bit uncomfortable. Before the pastry was ready to say anything, Yuweiwei over there spoke up first. "Sister, this is today's nutrient. I couldn't finish the 2 of them, so I can only exchange 1 bottle with Mr. Eric." After he finished speaking, he didn't look at the pastry anymore. He just put the nutrient on the bed table and left, because he didn't want to hear the phrase, "drag the oil bottle, since there's only 1 bottle, I'll drink it." Suosu saw that he was about to leave and quickly said, "Wait a minute, since there's only 1 bottle, let's split it equally. Anyway, I'm not hungry either. You go get a bowl." Suosu's stomach was actually very uncomfortable. The original owner had not eaten for a whole day, and her entire stomach was cramped. However, she looked at the bottle of dark green liquid, a small bottle. In her memory, the nutrient was made from some expensive plant juices, and drinking it could last for 10 hours without feeling hungry. She is very hungry, but there is only 1 bottle, which was exchanged by the little boy across from her. It is obviously unfair for her to drink alone. After hearing what the only person in the room said again, Yu's footsteps paused. A slight crack appeared on his cold face with his back to Suosu, but it quickly disappeared. He didn't speak and walked towards the kitchen. Taking advantage of Yu's unique situation, Suosu opened the silver wristband she was wearing on her wrist to get a bowl open to view the latest news. As soon as Suosu's words fell in front of her, the optical brain page appeared, with the stars constantly scrolling. Suosu looked at the advanced pages and clear images, accepting good reviews of recent developments. As a botanist, she has traveled to various regions of Blue Star, and if she wants to learn about an unfamiliar area, it is to learn more about the recent situation there. Even if there is the memory of the original owner, relying solely on the memory of the original owner is not enough. The original owner has been self-deprecating since exile, ignoring the outside world and only wanting to awaken again. I have opened a new book, thank you for your support. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Planting Cacti. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Planting Cacti. Suosu looked at a star news that read. The latest fruit, the magical fan tree. Out of curiosity, she clicked in and saw a short tomato tree being held by a middle-aged man wearing a white protective suit. The middle-aged man had a loving expression on his face, and there was a cute face on the trunk of the tomato tree, proudly staring at the camera. Suosu knew in her memory that most plants here were conscious, but she was still surprised to see them with her own eyes. The visual impact made her unable to calm down. She just wants to shout. 6 equivalent to being the only one back in the room. He was startled by his sister's expression. What kind of expression was that? Was indescribable, panicked, calm, and excited. Sister, today is very strange. Suosu stared out the window as a tornado began. Outside the energy shield, a tornado with a diameter of at least 100 meters was sweeping wildly across the desert, and terrifying lightning could be seen in the sky. This apocalyptic scene was actually the norm here. Suosu's expression was unprecedentedly serious. She knew it was very dangerous here, and now she was as fragile as those sands, but it would only be temporary. To survive here, one needs abilities, and she is not yet of age. However, she has the perfect planting technology of Blue Star in her hands, and her affinity for plants is much higher than others. Professional matching is the best gold finger. When she regained her senses, she saw Weiwei standing quietly behind her. Suosu didn't speak, but went back to the bed and opened the bottle of nutrient that didn't look too good. She poured the liquid into a bowl and handed it to Weiwei, while she drank it all in one gulp. The pungent and decaying smell immediately filled her taste buds, causing Suosu to furrow her brows. It's too bad to drink. It's made by mixing plant juice with some strange things after it decays. After the liquid entered her mouth, Suosu felt like vomiting out, but the feeling of warmth and fullness in her stomach made her endure it. She was more afraid of starving than the unpleasant liquid. After she finished digesting the liquid, she looked at her younger brother across from him. He was just holding a bowl, and the liquid in the bowl was still there. Suosu thought it was because he felt that he didn't pour enough. You drink it first, and when the sandstorm leaves, we'll go find the seedlings. We'll each have one bottle. You only glanced at her without answering, but he still drank all the nutrient solution from the bowl. Suosu didn't say much after he finished drinking. She still has a lot of things to do now. She remembered the only mention of Eric, who was the only merchant in Haitang City who purchased cactus seedlings. He earned his income by buying seedlings and selling them to cultivation tanks, but the seedlings were not 100% harvested, and those judged dead would not be purchased. Hence, only, do you have a dying cactus seedling? After drinking the nutrient, Utua thought for a moment and nodded. Then, he took out a dying cactus seedling from the bag around his waist, which was to be discarded after the sandstorm ended. Suosu's eyes lit up as he stared at the familiar yet unfamiliar cactus seedling. It's the giant pillar, a common type of cactus from the Blue Star, but it's a bit different. As for where it's different, it's probably because the cacti here are conscious and have a human connection during their seedling stage. Giant pillars do not have branches during their seedling stage. In order to protect themselves, they grow sharp spikes. This seedling, due to a certain degree of water shortage, has some lethargic spikes, but Suosu knows it's not dead. As long as she pours some water, she can quickly get her spirits up. She excitedly held the seedlings and looked up at Let's go plant it in the yard, give it some water, it can live. After hearing these words, you only spoke again and said, "No, if it lives, it will harm us." The countless deaths and injuries in the planter selection competition in the urban area were caused by a cactus cultivated by a contestant. As soon as Suosu was reminded by him, he searched his memory and remembered the competition. In the urban planting selection competition, a grower started cultivating cactus seedlings and brought it to the competition field after reaching maturity. However, he failed to domesticate it and was assassinated by him. The cactus went crazy and stabbed several judges and spectators on the field. After that, no one dared to cultivate consciously during the seedling stage of plants. The selection competition for planters in this urban area is held once a year and is crucial for a city. The failure of the competition in Haitang City resulted in the loss of half of the reserve planters, indirectly leading to a 1-star drop in Tangao star, which determines the amount of nutrients residents can exchange. Suosu is still a bit unwilling. In her opinion, the planter was a failure. Plants often imitate their owner's behavior and behavior consciously, judging by their owner's emotions. The planter did not sincerely communicate with the plant, which led to the tragedy. So she still wants to give it a try. "Let's plant it under my window in the backyard, far away from the front yard. As long as we don't go, it won't hurt anyone." You only looked at his stubborn sister, but his expression was still not very good. In his eyes, this was simply nonsense. Even if he planted a dangerous plant, he would still give it water, which was too wasteful. "There isn't much water at home, it will take 3 more days for the city area to distribute water." Yue lowered his head to prevent anyone from seeing his expression. He still wanted to dispel his sister's idea of planting cacti. What if the planting is successful? The selection competition for planters is such a distant matter. It doesn't require a lot of water, it needs to be watered once today and then again 2 days later. During the seedling stage, it doesn't need to exceed 200 milliliters at a time, said Suosu, who was prepared earlier. She knows too much about the cultivation of these plants. There's no other way out for Yu Weiwei. After helping his sister plant the cactus, Yu Weidao walked to the kitchen and opened a cabinet. He looked at the small and half bottles of nutritional supplements inside, his inner turmoil lingering. In the end, he closed the cabinet and did not touch the nutrients inside. The next day Suosu was awakened by the sound of arguments. She walked out of the room and looked out. A middle-aged man held his brother's collar in one hand and lifted him up. "Let go of him." Suosu couldn't believe he had seen such a scene, and his drowsiness disappeared immediately. His eyes were sharp as he looked at the middle-aged man. "Humph. If you don't care about your younger brother anymore, Suosu, I will discipline him for you. This little beast in the city has to give me half of the water he received, and everyone else has paid it. But he doesn't know how to stand up and leaves with the water, so he wants me to come and ask for it himself." The middle-aged man let go of Yu Wei and turned to look at Suosu fiercely. "I am planting plants, and as long as I pass this year's competition, I will bring countless benefits to Haitang City and even raise the star level of the planet. Borrowing water from me is a source of light for you," the middle-aged man said proudly, glancing at a few buckets of water behind him. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Water, Caution. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Water, Caution. After hearing the words, territorial water, Suosu paused in her footsteps, but did not show any abnormalities. She continued, "My brother is my family's business, and you don't need to teach him a lesson. We will never give you water again. I advise you to get out of here quickly, otherwise your spoils of war today will nourish my land." Speaking, Suosu also looked at the buckets of water behind the middle-aged man, but there were quite a few. Sure enough, a few words that made the middle-aged man flustered, and he instinctively protected his back. "How dare you? Don't you get out of here." This time, Suosu was obviously not so patient and walked slowly towards the door. The middle-aged man suddenly panicked and quickly picked up the buckets and walked outside. When carrying them, he was too eager and spilled a lot of water. The middle-aged man looked at the water spilled in the yard and his face became even worse. Damn it, Suosu, wait. After the middle-aged man reluctantly left, the yard returned to calmness. Yue lowered his head and dared not look at his sister. His sister found out that what he said yesterday about 3 days later, Ling Shui, was a lie. He doesn't believe her, even though his current sister is kind to him, he doesn't want to easily trust others anymore. Only, I know I was not good to you before, and you didn't believe me, but I just want to say once, you are my younger brother. I was not very good to you before, but I will change it. You can also trust me more, and we will depend on each other in the future. From the beginning of her journey, Suosu felt her younger brother's defense against her, but everything in her memory happened in reality. The original owner's harshness towards her younger brother was indelible, but now that she has become Suosu, she needs to change everything. Suosu's words are something that he doesn't believe in. It's impossible for a person to get better overnight. His sister had to drive him to become a monk the day before yesterday, but yesterday's sister shared half of the nutrients with him. Today's sister said she wants him to trust him more. Human beings are indeed ever-changing, unreliable creatures, and even more dangerous than plants. Suosu saw him still bowing her head and not speaking, and she knew that her obvious change had aroused his suspicion, but she must handle the relationship between the two well. I really want to get along well with you. If you don't believe me, I can give my sister a score and you can be the referee, okay? Now that they have just gotten along, it's unlikely for him to let go of his guard immediately. Only by gradually increasing his favor. Yu stood in front of his sister, who was taller than him, for a moment in a daze. Will he be the referee? Yu only didn't know what it felt like, he just felt his chest burning a bit, and he couldn't help but look at the person in front of him. Does he have the right to choose? Is this a new abandonment method? Yes, the only thing Yu fears the most is being abandoned. After his parents passed away, his sister left Yu's home without asking if he was willing to leave with her. He stayed in that unfamiliar and familiar home for 2 years, living cautiously everywhere, afraid of being disliked by the uncle's family. However, no matter how hard he tried, his cousin still didn't like him and even falsely accused him of stealing things. The uncle then drove him out of the house without asking the reason. The word dragging oil bottle is the most he has ever heard of. His cousin said it this way, while his sister didn't say it. However, looking at him in the eyes was disgusted, and no one had given him a choice. But today is different. My sister said something different from others. Can he choose to believe her? On this side, Suosu remained silent and did not disturb him. She returned to her room and looked at the water in the kitchen. The water provided to the citizens in the city was limited, with only 2 people per half-month, which was 1,000 liters, some of which were small. There was a small river outside the house allocated to her in the city, but it was severely polluted and could not be consumed. She could only rely on the supply from the city to make a living. A month only has 2,000 liters of water, which is far from enough for 2 people, and we also need to add cacti. Returning to the room, Suosu looked at the high-priced vegetables and meat on the optical brain page and suddenly understood why some people were willing to buy nutritional supplements that were so unappetizing, and the prices were also not low. Half carrot. 40,000 star coins 1 spinach. 70,000 star coins a cabbage needs to be auctioned off even more, as it can fetch a high price of millions of stars, and the most headache-inducing drinking water for her, 1 cubic meter of water is priced at 1,000 star coins. Suosu watched as the vegetables and water visible everywhere on the blue star transformed into her unattainable items and fell into chaos. Fruits and vegetables are an important key to supplementing the human body's needs, and the same goes for here. What is not enough is the ability to provide guidance. When using abilities, supernatural beings may be more or less contaminated, which requires the use of plants' abilities for guidance. This is also why planters can receive so much love and admiration. Suosu gently recited this sentence. Planting plants is not easy, even if it requires expensive prices, everyone is competing. Every year, star thieves challenge Yuan Xing to steal plants, Warcraft tramples on the planting site, and demonic plants are difficult to tame, all of which make the interstellar people tremble with fear. Suosu opened the window and looked at the giant pillar seedling below, which was full of water. She already had plans in her heart. Since she has arrived, she will bring the planting technology of Blue Star here, whether it is the future or another time and space, she will constantly search for plants. I don't understand why you still have to water that young seedling even after being pricked up like this. You stared at Suosu with a cold gaze. It has been 2 days now, and the young seedling is indeed alive, but it is like a crazy monster. Every morning, it stabs the window of its sister's room with spikes at a fixed time without any deviation, and her sister will get up to water it and accept its spikes. Suosu was dealing with a few thorns on the back of her hand and didn't get angry when she heard Yu's words. This is not good, aggressive plants are healthy, and they look very similar to you, she said. What are you saying? Who's like that cactus? It's going to make me cry sooner or later. Humph, I'm ignoring you. Hurry up and get out, we should go to the desert. Yu Weiwei, choked by his sister's words, blushed slightly with regret and quickly turned around to leave. Suosu didn't feel much pain from these thorns. She had been pricked by a mature giant pillar in her past life, and compared to this unique young cactus, it was much gentler. Ever since she found out that she was someone who could give it water, she had been extremely uncomfortable with exploratory darts, but Suosu knew that it didn't really have the strength to attack her. It is obvious that this cactus is very awkward, and Suosu, who observed this for the first time, was also extremely surprised. Conscious plants are really interesting. Suosu followed her younger brother out of the house and heard mournful cries in the backyard, which were very familiar. She and the only one exchanged a glance and ran towards the backyard. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Stealing Water and Attacking Seedlings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Stealing Water and Attacking Seedlings. Upon arriving in the backyard, she saw a person being crazily attacked by cacti. Suosu looked at the person, who was not unfamiliar. It was the middle-aged man named Evan who had failed to compete for water 2 days ago, a person who had failed in 2 editions of the planting teacher selection competition. Ouch, ouch. It hurts so much. Don't prick it now. Evan ran around with a painful expression on his face. He still has a few thorns on his body, and the giant pillar seedling at the back is still being darted, which scared him and made him keep avoiding. Before he could escape from the backyard, he heard a female voice. You're trespassing on a residential property. I'll go to the city management office, Mr. Evan. She said, I won't be able to grab water now. I've changed my mind to trespassing. She thinks it's very criminal. Evan's face turned pale when he heard Suosu mention the management office. ETA didn't expect it to be blocked. He had been holding a grudge against eating at Suosu's place and thought of taking advantage of their absence to move all the water in while no one flipped through the window, so he chose the window in Suosu's room and secretly climbed over the fence in the yard. As soon as he stepped into the backyard, he was fiercely attacked by the young seedling. That thorn really hurts, even more than those seedlings exposed in the desert. Damn it, Suosu actually planted this plant at home, he miscalculated. We are both urban residents, and I just accidentally came in. I didn't steal anything from you, and you see, I was pricked all over. Since you are also planting plants, I won't take your water anymore. Let's forget about this. As soon as he spoke shamelessly, Suosu's eyes widened. He really didn't have face. You should wait to explain these to the supernatural beings in the management office. I advise you to get out of here quickly, otherwise the cactus behind you won't let go of the thief who stole its food. Suosu deliberately bit the word thief even harder, his gaze very unfriendly. Evan looked behind him, and sure enough, the young seedling became even more angry when he heard Suosu's words. He couldn't help but tremble and ran towards the door in fear, running away in a disheveled manner. Tsk tisk c, this is the real attack. Look at your sister, my hands haven't even shed a few drops of blood. Suosu looked at Evan, who was running away, gloating, and then compared the back of his hand to Yue Wei. Yue Wei's face was not very good at first, but when he heard his sister's words, he suddenly became speechless. His sister is actually a fool, isn't she? However, is it okay? It's a bit useful, said the young seedling. You only praise this cactus for its great achievements. After hearing his words, a smile appeared on Suosu's face, which was indeed very similar to his cactus brother. Yeah, it's a hero, otherwise our family will be robbed and we'll have to give it a reward, Suosu said as he looked at the seedlings who were still pretending to protest after putting away their thorns. You only heard her words with some confusion, so could it be pouring more water? The two of them arrived at the desert outside Haitang City. At this moment, many people are already digging sand and soil. The seedlings buried in the desert will not launch an attack after being dug out for 10 minutes. As long as they are put into the energy bag during this time period, safety can be ensured. This seedling picking area has many huge rocks, many of which are empty holes, making it suitable as a hidden place. Suosu doesn't have a bag, so she always hands over the dug seedlings to her younger brother, but most of the time she is observing the situation nearby. 100 kilometers away is the territory of a cactus group, with many birds and monsters flying in the sky. Moreover, those cacti only allow these birds to dock, and other creatures will be attacked. Is there an interdependent relationship? Seeds and nutrients are spread through birds and bats, while the fruits of cacti are used as food for these monsters. What Suosu is looking for are these monsters. If the cacti are not given enough nutrients, water alone is not enough. To grow excellent plants, it is often necessary to construct their living environment. Cacti can resist tornadoes in the desert by relying on the roots and strong leaves that penetrate the sand. She has seen artificially cultivated cacti uploaded by the optical brain, and their roots and stems are extremely short, some even less than 10 centimeters. As the saying goes, flowers in a greenhouse cannot withstand harsh environments. She didn't want the magic plant she planted to become an invincible flower. And these birds and beasts are her purpose. Suosu opened his optical brain and swept towards the birds and beasts. Pentagonal beast vegetarian Warcraft usually prefer to stay in groups inside rock caves. Food. Likes to eat nectar. Recognized as one of the least likable Warcraft, but highly favored by demon plants. Capture difficulty. Easy. Attack rate. 10%. Suosu looked at the information on her computer without saying a word, but the boy next to her couldn't help but feel helpless. Are you the only sister? I am his little companion Lin Cece. Look at the 5 beasts, although they are cute, they are very cunning. Lin Cece ran up to Suosu curiously while his parents were not paying attention. He accidentally saw the content of the optical brain just now. The Wufang beast is very popular among some girls, with furry fur, but his father told him that the Wufang beast likes to deceive people. They can take away seedlings and even defecate everywhere. Suosu heard the sound and looked down, then nodded with a smile and said, I want to invite a few pentagonal birds home, but I don't know what to do. Do you know, little four? Upon hearing her words, Lin Cece looked at his sister, who was smiling beautifully, and blushed slightly before nodding lightly. If you know, just give them water and you can treat them. Water is the most precious in the desert, but they are very bad and will be priced on the ground. That's what my dad said. Lin Cece didn't know what that meant, but he got it right. Suosu nodded. Warcraft and magic plants are both conscious, and they naturally seek profits for themselves, which is difficult not to understand. Sure enough, there are no species of migrant workers here. Time passed quickly, and Suosu and the only 2 of them quickly gathered the quantity for today. Suosu even found 6 seedlings, and today's nutrient solution was considered complete. The technique for finding seedlings is actually very simple, and you can roughly guess which sand circle has seedlings through the defecation positions of those five-sided beasts. It's just that the scraping of the sandstorm has become a bit difficult to find. When everyone had to go to Mr. Eric's place to exchange nutrients, this rock group appeared much quieter. Suosu didn't follow the crowd, but stayed here. You only looked at his sister holding him silently, thinking of what his sister had said this morning. Is it looking for a reward? We have to wait for the Warcraft who live here, she whispered, feeling her only doubt. Sure enough, as soon as the crowd left, the five-sided beasts who had just been on the side of the cactus group returned to the rock group. Suosu looked at these light blue furry little monsters, each with a pointed mouth, because their tongues were very long. The pointed mouth was beneficial for them to avoid the thorns on some magic plants and easily absorb nectar. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. 5 Beasts, Full Sky Stars. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. 5 Beasts, Full Sky Stars. The 5 beasts quickly discovered them, but found no one else and ignored them, flying towards the high rocks on their own. Wufang Beast, can you help me? At this moment, Suosu spoke up in the air, and as she finished speaking, she heard several Wufang beasts noticeably pause for a moment. I would like to ask for your help, it won't be difficult. In return, I can give 1 liter of water. For a petite pentagonal beast, it is equivalent to a 3-day intake of 10 pentagonal beasts. Suosu has simply counted fewer than 20 of these 5-sided beasts, and they are likely all in the form of division of labor. Her words clearly shook several Warcraft. They were communicating with each other over there, and she was not in a hurry. Waiting is not without reward. A pentagonal beast flew down and stood on Suosu's shoulder. I would like to ask you to help me fertilize the cactus seedlings planted in my house, once every 7 days. With just 3 applications per month, I can get 3 liters of water. Suosu first expressed his plan. The pentagonal beast tilted its head to listen, and when it heard 3 liters of water, it clearly showed a happy expression. In the end, it nodded and flew back. Then a few flew down, and Suosu knew that they had agreed and planned to follow her back. Weiwei remained silent as he watched his sister collaborate with the group of recognized cunning monsters. He felt that he was getting less and less familiar with his sister, but it was her business and he didn't want to interrupt. At least he would wait until these 5 beasts left before asking. After taking the 5 beasts home, Suosu watched them walk 7 times on the roof of his house before leaving, which means we know the way and will come in 7 days. Suosu also planted the extra 3 seedlings he dug up today in the backyard. Now there are 4 giant pillar cactus seedlings in the yard. The cacti here grow very quickly, and mature giant pillars can grow in just 1 month, and they can bloom and bear fruit in half a month. Most of the cacti here die during the seedling stage, which is why they become rare magical plants. After returning, you only held 2 bottles of nutritional supplements in his hand, but he didn't look very happy. What's going on? Suosu looked at his face and didn't look very good. Evan, he told many people that you were planting plants and even said that you were just ruining the demon plants. In a few days, you will have to find the awakeners to take the demon plants away. You repeated coldly. Suosu lifted her eyelids and knew that Evan would not give up easily. It happened to make him settle for debt. Don't worry, let them come. There's a way to get him to the wall. After all, his own magic plant is only budding now, and it's still in the budding period after half a month. As for why, you don't have to think about it to know about Suosu. The next day, Suosu received a box of miscellaneous goods early in the morning, which showed an address from Mantiangsing, a remote planet that required a 3-day journey from Tengoxing. The package was purchased by the original owner before, and she didn't even know what was inside. During his illness, the original owner liked to browse live broadcasts, so he often rushed to buy some cheap things during the broadcasts. This time, the blind box cost a full 3,000 star coins, and he spent all the remaining money at home. Suosu sighed slightly at this thought and then opened the box to see if she could find anything useful. 3 chicken feathers, a soiled flower pot, and a camera recorder, is that all? Suosu looked inside with black lines all over his head, pitying people, except for that flower pot, it's useless at all. She picked up the flower pot and glanced at it. The introduction stated that it contained 10 special products from Mantiangsing called non-germinating seeds. Look. These literary and artistic names don't even carry sprouts. Suosu was speechless for a moment. She took the seeds inside and her dark face suddenly improved. Isn't this a full sky star seed? The full sky seed of blue star is only 2 mm in size, but this one is significantly twice the size, which should also be the reason for the variation. The cultivation method of Mantiangsing is different and requires germination, otherwise it is difficult to sprout. No wonder it is called a non-germinating seed here. Activate the search function to find all the information about the star flowers in the sky. Tianxinghua, white/purple, attack. Hypnotic haze rare. S.level cleanliness. A circular purification with a diameter of 2 km, covering an extremely wide range only distributed in Mantiangsing, seeds. Do not germinate. Only 2 plants of Mantiangsing remain intact and are now placed in the Mantiangsing cultivation room. Tianxinghua and Mantiangsing look almost the same, except for being twice as tall as Mantiangsing, the only difference is their consciousness. Suosu was worried that her family's savings were completely depleted and she was about to end up unable to afford water. Is there a chance for her to earn money? She lowered her head and fiddled with the camera inside the box. She had all the tools to make money, so why wait? That's right, the way she came up with to make money is to start a live broadcast. The cultivation method of Mantiangsing was not available in this interstellar era, and those 2 Mantiangsing plants are highly likely to have been sprouted and grown by chance. She plans to take the full sky star to participate in the added interstellar planter preliminaries. One requirement for participating in the preliminary round is to have a social account with 100,000 followers, and also to have a certain level of popularity. The most direct way here is to start a live broadcast. The next day Suosu registered a Capital Star live streaming account through Optical Brain, room number 557, room name. The registration for Fanhua Xijing has been successful. Peach Blossom Cake Anchor welcomes you to join the Capital Star live streaming platform. Please work hard in the future. The mechanical system sound ends and the registration is considered complete. Suosu opened the shield of the camera and kept her appearance confidential. She was not disappointed as the number of people in the live broadcast room showed 0. Yesterday, she soaked those seeds and put them in wet wipes to promote germination. Now, she is preparing to loosen the soil in the flower pot, at least to ensure that it is soft and breathable, so that it can be planted. Just as she was preparing these, a few people came to the live broadcast room. What is this doing? Is it growing plants? Which planter is the anchor? I haven't heard of a planter named Peach Blossom Pastry before. Can't he be a newcomer? I think it's a newcomer. What's the use of constantly flipping the soil with that small shovel? Is it okay for children to play with mud? Why is the standard planting channel on it? Several puzzled bullet comments drifted through the live broadcast room, and Suosu was focused on making final preparations when he saw these hands flipping over the soil and giving a scolding. This is for loosening the soil. Over time, the soil will clump and reduce the permeability of plant roots. These are not secrets in the interstellar era, but have been mentioned by many growers. However, they only mentioned it and did not allow people to see the loosening soil with their own eyes, so many people are not clear. Suosu spent some time loosening the soil and took out a wet cloth to cover the seeds in the soil. This is a non-germinating seed, also known as the star flower seed, which takes about 3 hours to germinate. During this time, you can take a look at the dental reminder video I just released. The star flower seed is difficult to germinate, so it has been stimulated to shorten the seed sleep time. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Germination, Making Money. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Germination, Making Money, 6. Surprisingly, someone soaked seeds in warm water. What a strange anchor. It's really a child learning to plant. After watching the video posted by the anchor, I was greatly shocked. It was the first time I saw a seed soaked in warm water and then taken out and planted in the soil. If it could sprout, I would reward you with 10 black holes. Obviously, the anchor is illiterate. Do you think the seeds of Tianxingwa sprout so easily? Why is it called a non-sprouting seed? Does the anchor not understand? The first person in history to dare to soak seeds in warm water. I respect you as a man, but this is not right, so this is why the anchor doesn't dare to see it in person. Upstairs, you have the truth. Suosu looked at the content on the barrage with a smile and remained silent. Whenever there were doubts, there was heat, and soon it could make the heat even greater. She stared intently at the flower pot, with enough time in a day for the seeds to adapt to the soil environment and break through the soil. According to the habits of the full sky stars, a warm and comfortable climate is most conducive to their germination. Here, flowers are mostly conscious plants with the ability to purify the environment no less than trees, while fruits and vegetables are beneficial in helping awakened individuals alleviate pollution. Just as Suosu was looking at the picture of the light-brained starry flower, the soil in the flower pot moved for a moment. Then, a tender green grass bud slowly pushed open the soil cover and carefully poked out its green tip. After breaking through the soil, it seemed to be observing the surrounding environment. Then, as if it had determined that the environment was safe, it bravely stood up. Then, the soil around it also began to move, and the remaining seeds began to quickly break through the soil. When the first grass sprout broke through the soil, Suosu noticed it. She lowered her breath, afraid of disturbing these seedlings. Not only her, but also the people in her live broadcast room held their breath and dared not make any sound, even if it may be 108,000 miles away from the host's house. They instinctively dared not make too big a move. In just 10 minutes, the live broadcast room seemed to be at a standstill, and Suosu watched as the last seedling broke through the ground before taking the next step. Afterwards, taking care of the growth of seedlings requires more time. According to the analysis of experts in optoelectronics on the seeds of Mantianxing, combined with their own analysis, it is estimated that it takes half a month for seedlings to grow and bloom, which is more than twice the length of Blue Star. She began to face the camera and said, "It seems very successful. The celestial flowers have already sprouted, and their growth stages will be updated irregularly thereafter. All 10 seeds have sprouted, and the next live broadcast will be scheduled in 5 days. At this moment, it's a bit awkward. Did you participate in the selection competition for planters, Anchor? And this is your cultivation of the competition. Why do you share its germination skills? You should know that each planter has their own planting skills, which are usually not easily disclosed." A viewer who watched the entire process was somewhat surprised and asked. "I have watched the host's germination video more than 10 times. I hope Man Tianxing can auction off the seeds of Tianxinghua and would like to buy them. Oh my goodness." In just 10 minutes, the live broadcast room of the anchor was directly placed on the homepage by the system, and the cover was just a sprout that had just emerged. It was simply stunning, because I licked the screen countless times on that cover. I want to submit one of the most beautiful web images of this year. The number of people in the live broadcast room has rapidly increased due to the cover created by software reviewers. Suosu did not expect to be able to produce a beautiful picture so quickly, which is truly the pinnacle of technological development in the interstellar era. Thank you for the exquisite picture provided by the reviewer. Let me answer the audience's questions about the refinement. Not all seeds need to be sprouted, and we will also post more planting techniques on the homepage in the future. The relationship between the magic plant and the planter will be the final decision, and planting techniques can better take care of the magic plant. However, in battles, more consideration should be given to one's own understanding of the magic plant. A planter should not only take care of it. What Suosu values more is whether the relationship between the demon plant and humans can be cooperative. Ding, thank you for the 10 black holes sent by Q. The live broadcast room will receive a page recommendation. Please note that this promotion has a high traffic and will attract multiple viewers. Please do not download it. Ding, thank you to Sankai for sending 6 and black holes. The live broadcast room will. Ding, thank you for the 7 aircraft carriers sent by Magic Plant Enthusiast 1. Suosu watched as the system beeped continuously, indicating that her plan had been successful. The requirement for participating in the selection competition was a base of 100,000 fans, which was a great challenge for new anchors. When she first checked the optical brain, she saw that the number of fans on the channel chart was 50 million, and the difference between chart 1 and chart 2 was only 100 more fans. The list only released the top 3,000 anchors, but the minimum number of fans was 150,000. That is to say, there are many contestants in this preliminary round, and the competition in the preliminary round is fierce, not to mention the 2 capital star competitions of promotion and championship in the future. The reason why Suosu wants to participate in the planter competition is that the champion can receive 100 mysterious seeds and 1 million star coins as rewards. No matter what the seed is, she will work hard to win the championship. As far as she knows, the second awakening requires a high amount of test money to be paid. The original owner did not investigate this information at that time. For the Yu family, the test money may not be very much, but she does not believe that the uncle family, who have already become the owner, will be willing to pay this money for her. After the broadcast, she checked the anchor's earnings and was pleasantly surprised to find that there were a whopping 30,000 star coins. After deducting the platform's income and taxes, she was able to receive 15,000 star coins herself. We must arrange the water. Suosu said subconsciously as she looked at the star coin that had turned her mind. Nowadays, there are more and more plants at home, and water is just as Lin Cece said. Here, water is omnipotent. 1 cubic meter of water costs 1,000 stars, and she quickly placed an order to buy 5 cubic meters of water in one go. The remaining 10,000 stars are needed to purchase nutrients or plant fertilizers. Plant fertilizers are also extremely expensive on shopping websites. The room door was gently knocked on, and Suosu knew it was the only one. She opened the door and looked at him. Only, this is the plant seedling that my sister planted today. It has just sprouted and the live broadcast earned some coins. Today, we will eat more expensive nutrients. I don't want it. Yu only stared at his smiling sister with a cold expression, then shouted softly upon hearing her words, he doesn't need her charity. Yesterday he saw her tinkering with the live streaming device. Since my sister woke up that time, she felt like a different person, no longer needing him. If she didn't need him, she would be closer to being abandoned. He dared not ask for her alms, otherwise when he left, he would have to pay back and meet again. He was afraid that he would make a fool of himself again to hope for that elusive and endless family relationship. Yu's unique personality is not actually bad. He is very intelligent, but has always hoped for family affection. He also adds points to his room every day when his sister allows him to make decisions on his own. The more points he gets, the more uneasy he becomes. He is afraid that his sister will not keep her promise and lack a sense of security, so everyone should not hate him. After Suosu gives him enough security, he will get better. He is not a cold and reserved child. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Certification, Purchasing Skyflower Seedlings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Certification, Purchasing Skyflower Seedlings. Suosu didn't understand the only reason why she was angry. She looked at her younger brother who only reached her waist, but she also understood his unease. She is the only one who knows how to score herself these days. For him, 8 years old should be the age to go to elementary school. Based on the original owner's memory, she knows that the only thing she can count to 200. Sometimes when he looks at his brain, he always looks at the children who are going to school with envy. There are not many primary schools in Haitang Star, with 3 founded by Haitang City Lord and 1 founded by Capital Star. The schools founded by Capital Star not only teach theoretical knowledge, but also offer practical combat and technology disciplines related to mecha, which are relatively more expensive. The only necessary thing is to go to school. The enrollment time for this year is only 4 months later. The only one who came here was a year ago. The school in Capital Star has already been suspended. It should be because I don't want to waste money, so I stopped myself from wasting it. After thinking it through, Suosu reached out and touched her younger brother. You don't have to worry, I will find a way to go to school. I will definitely send you to school this year. The only one who was touched by her sister was somewhat confused, but when she heard her words, her pupils instinctively widened. Go to school to study. That is something he no longer hopes for. Are you going to take me to school? This is the only time Yu has asked her so seriously. Well, my sister is going to participate in the selection competition and needs to go to the main urban area, so you have to go to school to study. Money is not something you as a child should worry about. 8 years old is a time of innocence and naivety, and childhood is precious. How could you not have the motivation to learn? I know. But today I want to drink Mr. Eric's nutritional supplements. Don't be too expensive, Yu Weiwei continued. He had known about his sister's live broadcast since yesterday, and he also squatted in her live broadcast room to watch. Today's reward was actually not enough to buy good nutrients. As for why his sister posted her planting techniques, he still had no reason to believe her approach. Although he didn't know where his sister's skills came from, he chose not to ask. Okay, today we'll eat Mr. Eric's nutritional supplements, and then we'll go water the cacti together. Suosu nodded and agreed, but it doesn't matter what she eats. When she finds the vegetables in the future, she won't believe it when she makes them. The next day, when Suosu opened her optical brain, she was startled by a long string of messages. She had thought about being sent a private message, but didn't expect so much. She looked at the top message and clicked in. Hello, generous planter. We are a member of the Magic Plant Protection Association and we are very interested in the sprouting techniques you have published. We would like to inquire if you would like to certify this technology. After certification, those who click to view will need to pay star coins. The price can be set by you. If you do not authenticate, we may not be able to protect your copyright security well and may be used for commercial purposes, which may give star thieves an opportunity to defraud others of their property. We suggest that you activate it. Stay with the Magic Plant Association. After reading this message, Suosu connected the optical brain call button. There is a middle-aged man sitting in the main office of the Capital Star Magic Plant Association. He excitedly pressed the answer button and paused for a moment when he heard the voice of a young woman on the other end. Is it the Peach Blossom Cake Anchor? I'm Hong Qixing, the vice president of the association. Do you take our proposal? Although Hong Qixing was somewhat surprised that the person on the other end of the call was actually a young girl, his attitude was still very good. After hearing his words, Suosu was not surprised. Well, I can agree to the certification, and the price can only be set at 1 star coin. This technique was not invented by me. The profits from this video are all donated to charity organizations, which I am not very familiar with. It would be even better if the association could help me find a reliable one. Do you think you can agree to this? She is familiar with the planting techniques of Blue Star, and being able to publish them indicates that everyone can learn. Star coins are only fragrant when earned by herself. Hong Qixing was only surprised when he heard this, but he readily agreed and informed Suosu that the charity organization is the largest charity organization in Capital Star, the 8 Wilderness Foundation, and it is his family's industry. He can rest assured to handle it. After hanging up the call on Suosu, he saw a new message asking for the purchase of a young star flower seedling. This person is very bold. She set her profile picture as her own photo and looked at the photo on the homepage. Isn't this person Evan? If she remembers correctly, is he the person with the goal of becoming a planter himself? Hello, I am Evan, the only planter and competitor of Begonia Star. I would like to purchase a young star flower from you. I can offer 5 million star coins, but you should know that this price is the price range for a single saffron fruit. This second deficiency, his own plants are still in the seedling stage and he wants to buy new seedlings again. I won't agree to sell as an unreliable seller. Suosu sent this message to Evan and refused his purchase. In a certain iron house in the center of Haitang City, damn it. Refused, how dare she? I'm Evan, a contestant ranked 1200, and just a little anchor ranked 2000 dares to give me face. Evan sat on the sofa with a dark face, looking at the dried sprouts on the table, his dark side constantly exaggerating. Since you don't want to buy, it will make it impossible for you to continue living here. 5 days later, the second live broadcast of Suosu is about to start. The efficiency of the Magic Plant Association was very fast. In 5 days, her certification was completed. When Suosu logged into Optics Brain again, her homepage showed 300,000 followers, which had already met the competition standards. 10 seedlings are actually very easy to raise, as long as they are watered and sunbathed regularly. Nowadays, the seedlings are still very active, especially the first one that broke through the soil. It is the strongest one among them, but one downside is that it has a strong sense of territory and is unwilling to share a potted plant with other seedlings, otherwise it will bully the seedlings without her attention. There was no way to make the pastry, so we had to start a new pot to raise it. Open the live broadcast room, people will soon be in the room, and the number of people is constantly increasing. Today is just a simple way for everyone to take a look at the current situation of seedlings. Those who need to purchase seedlings need to go through my investigation. If there is any abuse of magic plants or other bad behavior, I will refuse their purchase. Suosu first explained the reason for today's broadcast. Looking at the hundreds of thousands of people in the live broadcast room, she thought of Evan, who has been here for 5 days, and knew in her heart that today will not be so peaceful. Evan, who always seeks revenge, doesn't think he will give up easily. From the moment he started grabbing water, he knew that this person had a small heart and even wanted to find someone to dig up the seedlings at home. Selling the seedlings to him would definitely not make her feel at ease. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Water Army, First Customer. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Water Army, First Customer. Can I buy a young star flower seedling? I can, look at me, what requirements do I need to meet? The Tyangsingwa seedlings are the national flower of my planet, and planting them is not easy. Recently, the city lord has indeed cultivated several seedlings along with the video, but I don't know what to do next. Magic plants are already expensive. Do you really believe she can sell them? She said she wants to participate in the selection competition, and these flowers are probably her entries. How could they be so easy to buy? It makes sense, but I just want to use this method to deceive traffic and increase her fan base. You guys go and watch the Star Network forum quickly. This anchor is actually a scammer. Many seeds have already died from Chia. She's harming one of our few plant seeds again. Soon, Suosu's live broadcast room was filled with insults and accusations, all blaming her for causing the seed to die. Suosu looked at someone's post and clicked on it. There were 3 photos inside, and she saw at a glance that the seed was not a celestial flower. Is it really because it's black? So the obvious difference is still hard to see. The seeds of Tyangsingwa have a reddish-brown appearance, and the size of the particles is between 3 mm. The soaking water temperature is between 20.22 degrees Celsius. Which one in the picture is right? Suosu said to the camera when she returned to the live broadcast room. Due to the 70% similarity between her virtual image and her previous life appearance, her appearance is on the high and cold side. The disdainful expression on her face made many onlookers feel a moment of dullness. Help! Sister killed me. She frowned and looked good. I also saw that the one was different, but the number of sailors in that group was very large. Yes, what a noticeable difference. The seed is black and only 1 millimeter in size. The water temperature is still foggy in the air, which makes me laugh. Also, as far as I know, the Tyangsingwa seeds cannot be purchased online anymore. The last sale was a reward from the blind box lottery of a Fei Live, which should be in the hands of the host. Sankai typed the words to catch insects for the people in the live broadcast room. It's possible in the auction house, but they are all registered and purchased by aristocratic families. Sankai said again, because just 3 days ago, their family had auctioned off all the seeds of Tyangsingwa. I knew the anchor was wrongly accused. Some people started to beat the rhythm, and I don't know who bought a navy worth over 100,000 yuan at once. This is about to slaughter the anchor's live broadcast room. Suosu looked at his live broadcast room with a lot of rationality, but that Sankai was quite insightful. The person who posted was a big V with millions of fans, deliberately creating a buzz. A typical new anchor is likely to be reported in a matter of minutes. But as someone who has experienced the blue star spray attack, Suosu said it's just a small joke. Just as she was planning to post a response to the incident, she received a message from the vice president of the previous Magic Plant Association in the background. Very sorry, we have been researching the planting method of Tyangsingwa recently, so we have not yet released your video to the public. We are sorry to see that post now, and we have already processed it. You can rest assured to continue live streaming. Suosu is not surprised by these things. It seems that the association here is indeed very reliable. After reading the news, she replied well and then broadcasted it. Today, she wanted to find a host for these seedlings, but it seems that it will take some time. Just as she was regretting wasting a day, her backend received a message from someone. Anchor, what are your requirements for selling Tyangsingwa seeds? I am Sankai, originally named Su Sankai, a new plant in the capital star plant system. I would like to purchase a seedling. Oh. It's the visionary Sankai brother. Sure, but I need you to sign a contract, and the one looking at the seedlings needs to reach my planet, which is confidential. The contract has been drafted and sent, said Suosu. She was very happy about this unexpected gain, but she didn't expect it to be from Capital Star as well. Sure, I have read it and I can do everything above, but is it too cheap to sell a 100,000 star coin plant? Sankai cannot understand why an S.level magic plant seedling is only priced at 100,000 star coins, and the deposit is relatively small. The discounted price for the first customer. Suosu simply said, for her, the fact that Mantiangsing can sell 100,000 yuan is only because it is a conscious plant. If it were in Blue Star, a Mantiangsing plant selling 100,000 yuan would not need to be reported by customers. She could go in first. Do you have any other plants for sale? Sankai heard her words and immediately thought of something and asked. Well, there are also 3 young cactus seedlings, but their prices are different. They are more aggressive and their personalities are not very good. To become their growers, one needs to be an awakener, so the requirements are higher. Suosu thought of the 4 cactus seedlings under her window, and recently they have been much more obedient. The first one they planted became the leader inside, practicing their skills with their 3 little brothers against the wall every day. So, can I come to your place and take a look? Sankai was a bit excited. I didn't expect there were really other magic plants, and it was difficult to control the cactus. That means the anchor has 10 starry flowers and 3 cacti on hand. The cactus has reached its maturity stage very quickly and can catch up with the preliminary round. This competition is definitely very exciting, but unfortunately he is still underage and cannot participate. Suosu is looking forward to the first partner, but she still needs to wait for another partner before that. It's the previous 5 beasts. 7 days have passed, she wants to take a look at them. At noon, Suosu had just finished drinking a bottle of nutritional supplements and soon heard a sound outside the window. She and Yu Weiwei walked towards the backyard. Not far away, several pentagonal beasts were seen parked on the cactus, and the cactus did not intend to attack them. Instead, it shook its body with some joy. Sister, the 5 beasts don't look like the same group as before. Yu, who has a strong observation ability, quickly discovered the differences. Well, this should be a team of 5 beasts specialized in collecting water. Previously, they were collecting food, and their division of labor was very orderly, no less than that of humans. Suosu admired these small monsters very much. C.level Warcraft has such intelligence, it's hard to imagine what an S.level Warcraft would be like. Just as the two of them were watching the interaction between the 5 beasts and the cactus, the doorbell in the front yard rang. Go open the door with you, Dui. Su Sankai stood outside an obviously rudimentary iron room, his face full of confusion. Is this really the place where the anchor lives? How could it be so dilapidated? He looked at the address in his mind and confirmed it multiple times before finally ringing the doorbell. When Yu Weiwei pushed open the door, he saw a young brother struggling with something, and a hint of suspicion flashed in his eyes as he stared at Shu Sankai. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Greenhouses and Black Houses. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Greenhouses and Black Houses. Su Sankai followed Yu Weiwei to the backyard and saw a young girl with her back facing him. There was also a pentagonal beast beside her, seemingly communicating with him. Is she peach blossom pastry? It's a young woman. The first impression surprised Su Sankai, because in his understanding, those planters were all very old. The youngest planter he knew was 35 years old, and indeed, people cannot be judged by their appearance. It was his narrow sense. The small 8-year-old child on the side was also quietly scrutinizing the person who claimed to be looking for his sister. Just now, this person had been wandering around his doorstep, looking very nervous, and he even had his face covered in dust. Suosu turned around and looked behind him. A strange boy was standing by his only side, probably Sankai. Su Sankai. It's me, I'm here to take the exam. The assessment. Su Sankai was startled by the girl's question and spoke in a bit of panic. Brother, you don't have to be too nervous. The only person on the side who saw him like this couldn't help but say. It was also the first time he had seen such a shy person. He stood close and saw the big brother's hand trembling. I'm a bit social anxiety, so I'm a bit nervous. Su San, a 16-year-old young master from the Su family in the capital city, has been diagnosed with moderate social anxiety since childhood and is hesitant to communicate with others. Now, with the help of his family, he can communicate normally on his optical brain. However, he appears very flustered when facing strangers and stutters when nervous. After hearing his words, Suosu understood why he was so enthusiastic about wanting a star flower. The flower of the star flower has a strong stabilizing effect, which is related to its skills. Taengsingwa flower and leaf have a strong stabilizing effect, which can help achieve the goal of calming the mind and concentrating energy in the near future. You can come with me. The young seedlings of Taengsingwa love the sun very much, and they are not here. However, if you want to see these cacti, you can also do it. They are fertilizing the soil. Suosu pointed to them and said. Su Sankai watched as the 4 cactus seedlings were all receiving the help of the 5-sided beasts in a lively manner. He knew about this planting method and used Warcraft to complete it, but Warcraft generally did not kindly help humans. I didn't expect the anchor to find the 5 beasts. These little creatures are engraved with cunning by humans, and they are often expelled by humans after being bad beasts. However, they are good companions of many magic plants, and humans rarely cooperate with these small creatures. Generally, they seek help from the 3-eared rabbit or the giant star bat. Chatting, a pentagonal beast flew onto Suosu's shoulder and called out, while the others also stopped in mid-air. Those who have a clear understanding of the pastry will take out the prepared water bag. A compressed water bag can hold 4 liters of water, making it convenient for the transportation of the pentagonal beast. I was just communicating with them about the usage of this water bag. Su Sankai looked at the pentagonal beasts flying away in groups with water bags in their mouths, and then turned his gaze to the obviously more energetic cactus. He directly looked at Suosu with his starry eyes, truly worthy of being a big anchor. Suosu and her people arrived at a place where the sun could shine directly on them. It was a small warehouse built next to the iron house. When she discovered this, she spent some star coins to find someone to transform it into a greenhouse. What is this? Su Sankai looked at this small warehouse in surprise. It wasn't very large, but its roof was covered with a glass, and there were only 2 pots of starry flower seedlings inside. This is a self-made small rain shelter made of aluminum composite material. The remote control can be requested to open or close it. The Taingxingwa has just been exposed to the sun, so I will close it. After all, the temperature at noon on Tangdaoxing is much higher than other times, which is not conducive to the Taingxingwa. Su Sankai looked at the ingenious manufacturing and finally understood why she was willing to easily release the technology of sprouting, because she didn't even bother to hide it. You can take a look at those flowers. They have just sprouted, and the ability of hypnotic powder is not strong enough, so there's no need to worry. Suosu pointed to the young seedlings over there who were fully fed and sunburned. Okay. Su Sankai reluctantly left Tangao Star with a celestial flower that was close to his eye until evening. For him, today's journey was the most interesting, as there was a woman with excellent planting skills on a remote and backward planet. Suosu looked at the 100,000 star coins in her hand, but she didn't have much excitement in her heart. She needed better planting techniques, so the money needed to be in place. The most important thing in the interstellar era is technology. She only spent 5,000 star coins to renovate this greenhouse, and there is still a lot she needs to do next. In an era of backward planting technology, as long as someone dares to do it and succeeds, there will be someone who dares to challenge it. The video she previously posted was just to try to see how receptive this era is to new things, and she can still accept the handling methods of the association. Sister, does that person know that this greenhouse won't be detrimental to us? You, the only sister who looked at us silently and pondered over the issue, although he didn't understand what the adult world was like, he knew what significance this greenhouse had for planting. No problem, it's not limited to small details. This greenhouse is just an ordinary thing, and I'm willing to give that young man 90% trust. Cooperation requires trust, but don't have 100% trust either. Suosu touched her only head and said. Well, I understand now. So what will sister do next? You only now has great trust in sister's arrangement. A few days later, Suosu and Yue visited their nearest neighbor. It was mentioned in her memory that most of the people living nearby were about to awaken, but there were also some traders. She came this time to search for those merchants hidden in the market. Most of those people are gangsters who have wandered from some bombed planets to survive here. They are mostly traders, and the things they find will be sold. Therefore, Suosu wants to try his luck and see if he can find some useful things. Sister, that's it over there. Underneath that dirt ditch, I've seen a few homeless people live there before. You only pointed to that place, feeling uncertain. He had also fantasized about wandering there before. Suosu followed the only one to step into the dirt ditch, where several flickering lights hung on the walls of the ditch, leading straight into the depths. After she walked in, she saw several people with dirty faces staring at her, and there was also a piece of cloth next to them, which contained some goods. People from outside should leave quickly. This is not where people like you should come. A middle-aged man snorted coldly and then lowered his head to continue organizing his things. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The Emergence of the Golden Orange Tree. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 The Emergence of the Golden Orange Tree. Suosu recognized this person as Lulu, who sells cheap nutritional supplements. Because he only has one eye, he has been called one-eyed and came from another planet. Perhaps he has something he wants. So she stopped walking forward. What is the little girl looking at me for? Nutrients are no longer sold here. One-eyed with a gloomy glance at Suosu. I'm here to see something else. Suosu stared at the things in front of her one-eyed eyes. After hearing this, Cyclops did not expel her, but continued to organize his things and was too lazy to bother her. Suosu looked at the few white seeds placed at the edge, and his eyes did not move away after seeing these seeds. Boss, how do you sell those few over there? One-eyed glanced at Suosu and snorted coldly. A 500-star coin costs 10,000 stars. If you can't plant it, don't come to me. I don't know where this seed came from, maybe it's a dead seed. I'll take it all. Suosu secretly rejoiced, but she didn't make any expression. She just took out the star coins she would exchange in the future and handed them to Cyclops. Whatever you want. The one-eyed man pouted and stopped speaking. Holding 20 seeds, Suosu pulled the only one and walked back. Just as they were about to leave, they saw that the one-eyed one who had just been packing up was surrounded by a group of people, seemingly arguing about something. Why did you just buy things with that boss? He's a notorious villain in this district. I heard that it was the capital star who committed a crime and was exiled here, or was stripped of his ID card. Those who dare to bear a lot of criminal evidence would be like that. Yu Weiwei whispered to his sister. Suosu glanced at Cyclops, and at this moment, he seemed indifferent as if he was being pushed around by others. In the end, he threw away the things that Cyclops had just packed, and the group of people only left after seeing this. She didn't say much after watching the whole process, just turned around and pulled the only one away. She didn't have the strength to help others, and didn't she also fall for one eye? Everyone is not doing well, and fearless sympathy will only add unnecessary trouble to oneself. With such thoughts in mind, Suosu picked up her younger brother and left. Yu Weiwei didn't say anything, he just silently followed his sister's footsteps and left this place full of turbidity and chaos. When she returned home, Suosu took out all these seeds. Looking at the familiar seeds, she finally smiled. On the side, Yu Weiwei looked at her sister's smile and spoke awkwardly. What kind of seeds is this? Didn't it say it's dead? This is kumquat. It's a very good fruit tree. We have 20 seeds, we must find a place to plant them. Fruit tree. That's not it. How do you know it's a fruit tree seed? Yu was startled by her words, where the existence of fruit trees is like a treasure of a country. The fruit that a fruit tree can bear can help several awakened individuals soothe their mental and physical health. To this day, only major families or some royal families can obtain fruit trees. There is an apple tree in the backyard, which my father spent a lot of star coins to obtain. But now he heard his sister say that these white seeds were a kind of fruit tree, and he still couldn't control his heart beating faster. Well, we did come up with a big bargain this time, but I'm curious where Cyclops got so many seeds from, and they look fresh, which means he has eaten oranges before. Suosu thought for a moment and said, he came from the Golden City, which is very dangerous and a common place for star thieves. You only thought about what he had heard from Mr. Eric before telling his sister. Golden City. Suosu picked up the seeds and looked them in the sunlight. This name is very suitable for kumquats, as the fruit is the size of a pigeon egg, and if it ripens yellow, it will be golden. Suosu opened his optical brain and searched for the location of the Golden City. He received it and found that he did not find it in his optical brain. Generally, there are only two reasons why he cannot find it. The first type is destroyed by the explosion. The second type is because the star thief has occupied the base area and had to hide it. If it can be recovered, it will reappear. She is more inclined towards the second of these two. Suosu looked at the light brain and couldn't find any information, so she had to switch to another route. Looking at the picture that appeared after the optical brain finally had a response, Suosu smiled. I saw a photo of a golden orange tree on the screen. almost as tall as the blue star, both within 3 meters. Golden fruit tree auction price. The final selling price is one small target, obtained by the president of the Magic Plant Association. Attack. Unknown growth planet. Huangjinqing rarity. S plus single fruit selling price. Starting at 300 star coins, currently no news available, all available for sale. Looking at these introductions, Suosu's eyelids twitched. She felt that selling plants alone could help her step onto the planet's rich list. But now it's just the beginning, and there's still a long way to go before earning a lot of money. Plants are bound to have a growth cycle, and cannot reach the top in just one step. The siblings quickly planted these 20 seeds in the greenhouse. The night gradually darkened, and Suosu was lying in bed. The cactus outside her window was now half a meter tall, and it was looking at Suosu from the window. These days of care have made the relationship between this cactus and Suosu much better. Suosu looked at the majestic cactus outside the window. She was used to it and always liked to knock on her window to cause trouble, but soon she realized something was wrong. Its knocking on the window was not regular, but more like a reminder to her. Suosu quickly opened the window and looked towards the direction of the cactus's thrusting, which was the direction of the greenhouse. Asterisk within the greenhouse. Damn it, can't you keep your voice down? Let's explore what Suosu did in the warehouse. Evan pulled a woman and pried open the warehouse door. What can there be? Isn't it just some scrap metal? You've been tinkering with something these days. If we fail the selection competition again, we'll get divorced. Evan's wife Lena said to her husband with some dissatisfaction. Why is there so much nonsense? If it weren't for the peach blossom pastry recently, I would have fallen to this point. I didn't expect that her backstage was from an association, and we couldn't buy seedlings. We had to come and grab another one. I've seen that the siblings don't come here at night. But they always come here during the day, and I think they must have planted other plants here. Evan said to his wife with a hint of sarcastic laughter. Why don't you just find your cousin's family to move all these plants away? Silly, I'm the first one to come. Why should I give the plants to my cousin's family? Evan rolled his eyes. He's not stupid. His cousin's family is all awakeners, letting them know about plants. Is there anything else about him, Evan? Evan is about to go offline. Golden City, a place full of encounters, reveal that when the female lead goes to Golden City, the male lead will appear. End of this chapter.